Hello and welcome to Top of the Progs live on Smile Radio. You're currently listening to Intruder by Peter Gabriel from his third self-titled solo album, released in 1980, featuring some spooky drums from Phil Collins. I hope you enjoy it. That must be one of the greatest album openers of all time. It's just so spooky and dark, and it just sort of sets the tone for what's going to come ahead in such a sort of fantastic manner. It's just a really unbelievable track, and who else but Peter Gabriel would have a whistle solo at the end of the track instead of a guitar solo or a keyboard solo? Let's just stop it all and have a massive whistle solo. I mean, what an awesome opener. What a great track there. Hello everybody and welcome to Top of the Progs live on Smile Radio, the weekly show dedicated to wading through proggy waters past and present, discovering weekly news and hidden gems upon the way. First up, here's a track from Emerson, Lake and Palmer's classic 1972 album Trilogy. This track was the second in the trilogy, ironically enough, of Greg Lake ballads, the first being Lucky Man and the final being Still You Turn Me On Brain Salad Surgery. This track has a fantastic intro inspired by another prog classic, along with a standout Keith Emerson Moog solo towards the end. Interestingly enough, rumour has it that this track was originally written by Greg Lake for King Crimson's 1969 album In the Court of the Crimson King, but was turned down by Robert Fripp as he declared it would not fit the mood and tone they were going for on the album. This is an absolutely awesome track and a favourite of mine, like all these tracks are. This track is called From the Beginning.
Lying in bed, I shouldn't have said, but there it is. You see, it's all clear. You are meant to be here. From the beginning. Not been so cruel, not being such a fool. Whatever was done is done. I just can't recall. It doesn't matter at all. You see, it's all clear. You are meant to be here. From the beginning.
Absolutely awesome track there from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It's just it's a really clever track that it marries sort of the progginess of ELP along with a fantastic acoustic ballad by Greg Lake. It truly is one of the great tracks from their 1972 album trilogy. Absolutely great stuff. Anyway, let's talk about some of this week's prog news. First up, Yes guitarist Steve Howe has announced the release of a new solo album titled Love Is, which will be released on April 17th, featuring his son Dylan on drums, along with Yes's current frontman John Davison providing some of the vocals and harmonies. Steve said the album is said to be a balance of guitar-based instrumentals with some vocal tracks thrown in there for good measure as well. Steve Howe has also announced the release date of his autobiography titled All My Yesterdays, which is a much better title than Steve Hackett's autobiography, which is also coming out later this year. And I can imagine the title A Yes Under My Bed would have been much worse. The book is said to depict Howe's career as a roller coaster ride of constant touring, tense recording sessions, and frequent trips to all corners of the globe between his stints with Yes and the highly successful 80s AOR band Asia. The book is due out on September 3rd. I'm personally really looking forward to the Howe and Hackett books, although it'll be much of the information we've heard before, and it'll just be it'll be the same story over and over again, but it'll be told from that band member's perspective, which is what I'm really looking forward to reading, because a lot of rock biographers and people who write news articles, they have their own sort of agenda with the way things like this go. So you'll see a headline or you'll read in a book somewhere, Tony Banks forces Steve Hackett to leave Genesis, which isn't true at all. And all it is based on one line of misquoting where Steve has said, I felt pressured from the group, particularly Tony Banks. That line got misquoted and taken entirely out of context to produce a new article and sell headlines. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from Steve Hackett about why he left Genesis. And I'm really looking forward to hearing off Steve Howe about how, from his perspective, how all the Yes stuff came together. Because I know Bill Bruford says in his book that Yes was a very tense and very difficult place to be around, sort of fragile and close to the edge, and that the title of Fragile particularly describes the band at the time. I'm really looking forward to reading what Steve Howe's take on that is anyway. Another interesting story from this week was that the band Primus has announced a Rush covers tour titled A Tribute to Kings, which will consist of performances of the full Farewell to Kings album on a 46-date North American tour. Oddly enough, the whole tour has nothing to do with the tragic death of Rush drummer and lyricist Neil Peart, as they were planning the tour from, I think, early last year, it said in the article, with Les Claypool even contacting Geddy Lee at the beginning of this year, just after Neil Peart's passing, just to say, is this still okay? Do you feel like we're sort of cashing in a bit? You know, is it right that we do this tour? Which good on Les Claypool. The final item of news this week is that legendary Scottish rock proggers Biffy Clyro have released their new single titled Instant History. Now, this is what the big news was the other week about Biffy Clyro, where they just changed all the profile pictures to the colour blue, and then back to the colour red, and then back to the regular Biffy Clyro profile picture. The track debuted this Thursday just gone on BBC Radio 1 at 7:30pm, and then instantly was available for streaming afterwards on Spotify, iTunes and all those other services. And it was even released with a music video on YouTube with the band like painting funny colours on the camera lens. And what do I think of the track? Well, I'm still quite undecided, really. I mean, it's very different to what's gone before with Biffy Clyro. It's sort of following on from the soundtrack album they did, Balance Not Symmetry, which was very synthesizer heavy and a lot more pop orientated from their previous album Ellipsis, which featured a lot of sort of progressive devices and more complex songs. So it seems very simplified, and this track just seemed full to the brim with even like EDM production type things, with sort of very current but very sort of cheesy current synthesizers and bits of synth bass in there, with the line of the chorus being "This is the sound we make." But I'm sure with a few more listens it'll grow on me, and I'll start to really appreciate it like I do with all the other Biffy Clyro tracks. We've still not got a date for when the album's been released that this features on, but they've just given a very vague date that artists always give, later this year, which I presume, considering that this has come out in February, it might be May, June, summertime, as that's when they've released albums previously, so look forward to that when it comes out. This next track is for a good friend of the show and fellow Smile Radio host Kim Jong Chris, who sent me a message this week on Facebook saying that Jethro Tull were his favourite band so far that I've played on the show, and that he's now really appreciating and getting into prog rock, which is absolutely fantastic. You know, part of part of the inspiration to do this show was that it's obvious, I really, really love prog rock, and I want to share the genre with other people who've maybe never come across it, and they've been put off it by what you read online, by news articles saying, oh yeah, prog, it was all capes and keyboard solos and flash boots and Spinal Tap and sets that didn't work and bad equipment and millions of keyboards and 10 guitar amps and stuff. But yeah, a lot of the goal with this show was to share prog with people who may not have heard it before, and I was really pleased to get this message off Chris that he said he's really starting to enjoy it. So this next track is for Chris. It's by his favourite so far, Jethro Tull, and it was recorded by the band at a mobile recording studio in Monaco in 1975, and it's the title track from the band's 8th studio album. This song is called Minstrel in the Gallery.
My lord and lady, we have fortuitously happened upon these strolling players who will provide you with their goodly tunes whilst you set about your...
Yes, but I better have... I can't see you down there, all right? I don't think they're going to like this
my
much.
lord and lady, for your entertainment.
The minstrel in the gallery looked down upon the smiling faces. He met the gazes, observed the spaces between the old men's cackle. He brewed a song of love and hatred, oblique suggestions, and he waited. He polarized the pumpkin eaters, static humming panel beaters, freshly they glowed factory cheaters, salaried and collar scrubbing. He titillated men of action, belly warming and still rubbing on the parts they never mentioned. He pacified the nappy suffering, infants bleating, one-line jokers, TV documentary makers, overfed and undertakers, Sunday paper backgammon players, family scars and women haters. And he called the band down to the stage, and he looked at all the friends he made. suffering. People-pleasing one-line jokers, TV documents and makers, overfed and undertakers, Sunday paper backgammon players, families gone and women haters. How did he call the band down to the stage? And he looked at all the friends he made. The minstrel in the gallery, I looked down on the rabbit run. Then he threw away his looking glass and saw his face in everyone. Hey! The minstrel in the gallery, yeah, yeah. Look down upon the smiling faces. Man, the gazes, yeah. The minstrel in the gallery.
Just some absolutely classic Jethro Tull there. Can you get any more Jethro Tull than that? No, I don't think it's possible. It's got a fantastic acoustic opening with Ian Anderson, fantastic flutes throughout, fantastic guitar from Martin Barr. It's just an absolutely classic track. I hope you enjoyed that one, Chris, and I'll be playing more Jethro Tull just for you and for all the other Tull fans like myself in the coming weeks ahead. Now it's time for some holiday prog with a bit of the band Caravan. This next track was the title track from the band's third studio album, released in April 1971, and features some fantastic acoustic guitars, along with an absolutely fantastic piano solo in the middle. This track is called In the Land of Grey and Pink.
Land of grey and pink, where only Boy Scouts stop to think they'll be coming back again. Those nasty, grumbly grimblies, and they're climbing down your chimney. Yes, they're trying to get in. Come to take your money, isn't it a sin? They're so thin. There's black buckets in the sky. Don't leave your dad in the red. Cigarettes burn bright tonight. They'll all get washed down the drain. So we sail away for just one day to the land where the buckwheat grows. You won't need any money, just fingers and your toes. And when it's dark, our boat will park on the land of warm and green. And pick our fill of punkweed and smoke it till we bleed. That's all we'll need. We're sailing back in morning light. We'll wash our teeth in the sea. And when the day gets really bright, we'll go to sea drinking tea.
Absolutely awesome track there from Caravan. It's just a great track. It's just it's got such a sort of chilled out sort of vibe, and that piano solo in the middle is just fantastic. And I really love the sort of offbeat acoustic guitars towards the end that match up with the snare drum. It really is just a fantastic track from a fantastic album in the land of pink and grey. Oh, in the land of the grey and pink, sorry. Now it's time for this week's Hidden Gems. The first hidden gem of the week is more of a rarity, an oddity, than a hidden gem, and is a track from Rick Wakeman's performance on the American radio show The King Biscuit Flower Hour in 1975. This track was the opener for that show and is a cut-down rendition, a sort of medley, if you like, of his classic sprawling epic Journey to the Centre of the Earth. This version, like the condensed version of Jethro Tull's Thick as a Brick, takes all the key melodic sections and excitement from the original 40-minute piece and puts them into an exciting medley which is captured at the peak of Rick's sort of solo playing and at the height of his technical abilities and writing abilities. I hope you enjoy this one as much as I did when I discovered it. This song is called Journey to the Centre of the Earth, live in 1975. Absolutely fantastic track there from Rick Wakeman. I discovered that show recently, the King Biscuit Flower Hour, and the whole thing is just absolutely fantastic. I mean, you know, if I could, I'd just play the whole thing then for the whole concert for that. And that rendition, that medley is just absolutely awesome. It just includes all the best bits, and it just has fantastic vocal performance from Ashley Holt, and just such a fantastic ending. And the only thing that really lets it down is that it's really badly mixed. But it's one of those. It's mixed. The mix is done in such a way that it sounds like you're in the audience. So if you listen to that with a good pair of headphones or with good speakers right in front of you, close your eyes, it's like you're back in 1975 enjoying a premiere Rick Wakeman concert. Journey to the Centre of the Earth is my favourite Rick Wakeman album, so much so that when I saw him just over a year ago, I got him to sign it afterwards, and it's one of my prized possessions now, the LP with the little squiggle in the corner that Rick Wakeman did. I was so proud. When I interviewed Rick just over a year ago for a college project, I asked him about the Journey album, and I said to him, why was it all recorded live? And this is what he had to say. This is a direct quote from the man himself. Very difficult, as I had little or no budget. The main difficulty was that I had more music than could be put on an LP, and it was only in 2012 that I was able to rectify this with the studio recording of Journey with all the missing music. Essentially as well, the album was all done live out of necessity because, as Rick said above, there was no budget to realise it in a studio, as it would be far too expensive because, as you heard then, the record has choirs on it, it has strings, drums, brass, vocals. It's just it would just been a mammoth task and an absolute nightmare to record. Rick had to sell most of his classic car collection as well to finance the recording of the live album, which supposedly cost £40,000 to put together, to hire out a venue, to have all the players together, to hire a mobile studio to record it all, and then to have it paid to be mixed afterwards. There was a recording fault, however, in the original Journeys to the Centre of the Earth, which means that Rick Wakeman had to copy and paste some of the verses in the track The Battle. So if you listen really closely, you can hear little clicks and little splices. Rick said it was really stressful, but I and most other Rick Wakeman fanatics think it turned out absolutely great, and I personally think it's the best thing he's ever written and recorded. I think it's my favourite piece ever, and particularly that version is just absolutely fantastic. Very silly, and as I said when I played Merlin the Magician a couple of weeks ago, it's pretentious, it's overblown, it's pompous, and it's massive, but it's fantastic, and it's just classic Rick Wakeman. This next track is the second hidden gem, and is an exercise in the art of the odd, indulgent, and yet somewhat exciting, and is the instrumental closer to the first album in David Bowie's epic Berlin trilogy. This track was originally put together to the soundtrack for the film that David Bowie starred in called The Man Who Fell to Earth, which is a very strange film in which David Bowie portrays this orange-haired alien that comes to Earth, tries to blend in, and then takes off his face at the end and reveals that he is a massive alien. His soundtrack, however, was shelved for the film, and another composer came in to finish off the film, but this track was later salvaged, re-recorded and re-edited, and became this next track called Subterraneans. I hope you enjoy it. Great stuff there from the late great David Bowie. Very interesting as well. It just feels like that track is it's more about creating a mood and sort of setting a tone, and what sort of may on the surface be just a bit boring. It's just the same repeating bass line has so many different sounds and so many different instruments and little textures. It just builds up to be an incredible track when you listen really closely to it. We're now unfortunately nearing the end of this week's show. As always, I'd like to thank everyone listening live and on the Podbean catch-up. I'd like to now close this week's show with a Genesis classic that has been an absolute favourite of mine ever since I first heard it. This track was the closing track on the first Genesis album, which featured the classic Peter Gabriel era lineup. This track features lyrics about Greek mythology, and this track is called The Fountain of Salmacis. Thank you everyone for listening. Goodbye.
Sight of a door in desire for conquest. He found himself within a glade he'd not beheld before. Where are you, my father? Give wisdom to the son. And as his strength began to fail, he saw a shimmering lake. Shadow in the dark green depths disturb the strange tranquility. The waters are disturbed. Some creature has been stirred. As he rushed to quench his thirst, a fountain spring appeared before him, and as his heated breath brushed through the cool mist, a liquid voice called, "Son of gods, drink from my spring." The water tasted strangely sweet. Behind him the voice called again. He turned and saw her in a cloak of mist alone. And as he gazed, her eyes were filled with the darkness of the lake. We shall be one. We shall return as one.
forever.